Which Dynasty players should you try and sell high? We're going to talk about that in today's video. As always, like and subscribe. Appreciate all the love we've been getting lately, the subscribers, the views, the likes, the comments, the interaction. Appreciate all of it. We're going to be here putting out Dynasty football content all off season long. We're already jumping into rookie prospects and just kind of getting our feet wet in that area. We're going to be doing mock drafts, all that stuff. So today we're talking about some sell highs, and sell highs are always a tough video to make because we're talking about good players here. The fact of the matter is, all these players that I'm going to mention, I think they're good players. They're good fantasy players, but it's Dynasty football, and the strategy in Dynasty football is not just to, hold guys because you think they're good or they're going to do well. Is when do you capitalize on value? When do you capitalize on selling high and buying low? So we're going to try and get into that today. I got 5 guys for you in today's video: a quarterback, a wide receiver, a tight end, and 2 running backs. And again, these are sell highs. Don't sell these guys for anything. Get the value that they're, or more of what they're valued at. So currently it's January 20th. So the season's going on. It's actually just about 2 hours before the divisional round of the playoffs starts, Saturday, January 20th. So, this is trying to look ahead to forecast the future before free agency, before the NFL draft. So we're just going to jump right into it. The first guy on our list that we're going to be talking about, whose arms are in my way a little bit, is Tua Tagovailoa. It was kind of a tale of 2 seasons for Tua. He finishes in 2023 as the QB9, averaging 16.7 points per game, which is actually a pretty low average for the QB9. If we look at it last year, QB9 last year was Daniel Jones at almost 18.4 points per game. So we're talking about it was a bad year for quarterbacks. There was a lot of injuries and all of that. So Tua, tale of 2 seasons. The first 9 weeks or so, he was like the QB. He was a top 5 quarterback. And then from weeks 9 on, he just wasn't as good. I don't know if it was just, the injuries to Tyreek and Waddle, if it was the teams kind of figured out the Dolphins a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, I think Tua is a potential sell high at this point. If you see down below, you see, according to Keep Trade Cut, he's QB 14. And again, this is for super flex leagues, and trading quarterbacks are always hard because quarterbacks are valuable. I think Tua is a fine QB in a super flex league. He's fine as your QB2. A low-end QB1, definitely a top 15 guy in my opinion. And those guys are generally fine for QB1s. But what worries me about Tua is that he's literally in the best situation, maybe in the entire NFL. At least he's in the top 5 best situations, top 3 maybe at worst in the entire NFL. He has an amazing offensive-minded head coach. He has Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle that he's throwing to. This offense is high-flying. He plays in Miami where it doesn't really get cold. He's literally in the best position that he could be at. And so I'm just worried about what if this changes. Now, I know they've talked about it. They're probably, they're talking about committing to him long-term. It's funny that we don't hear the contract talks we do like we did with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. Now, I understand a little bit of Tua because it was the concussion stuff. Can he stay healthy? He did stay healthy. So I think the concussion stuff is kind of a thing of the past a little bit. But you don't really hear a lot of the contract talks about Tua like you did with Herbert and Burrow, who's in the same class. Now, they said they're going to commit to him, and I really like him even more if they do commit to him long-term. But I just worry about what if Tyreek gets hurt? We saw what it was like when Tyreek gets hurt or when Waddle's not fully healthy. What if something happens and Tua's not on the Dolphins? He's literally in the best position possible, and we still see him as, at best, a low-end QB1. So, again, get value out of him in a super flex league. These quarterbacks are valuable. But if I can stay in the same tier and pick up an extra pick or something, like if I can go from Tua to Dak, and pick up something for whatever reason, people are low on Dak, or even if I can tear down a step and I can go from Tua to Jared Goff and pick up a high second round pick, or God forbid, a first round pick, I would do that. I think I would do that. I would tier down to someone like a Goff. So, or if I can attach a second round pick to Tua and tier up, get into the Jordan Love, Anthony Richardson tier. Maybe you have to add a little bit more, but I wouldn't mind doing that. So, again, this is so high. I still think Tua is going to be a viable piece in Superflex, but I just think we see him in the best situation possible, and the best we've seen is averaging about 18.5 points. Now, again, the first 9 weeks of the season, he had a bigger average than that. He averaged about 19 points. So, we've kind of seen I don't think he's going to get to that top tier quarterback status, and I think that's pretty clear. So think about potentially selling high on Tua. And yeah, I hope they do commit to him long term, but that's even another thing. Like, they said they will, but NFL is kind of weird these days. Like, teams are trading players, moving on. What if Justin Fields is out there? Like, what if Kirk Cousins is out there? Like, what if they, make a trade and whatever? There's just a lot that can happen in the NFL, so I don't want to project too far. But Tua potentially is a sell high to me. Into the running backs, we're going to start off with Travis Etienne, who, again, you look at the stats for Etienne at the end of the year, and you see in half PPR leagues that Travis Etienne was the RB3. Great season for Travis Etienne. He averaged almost 15 points a game. I wasn't the biggest Travis Etienne guy, especially coming into the season. I thought Tank Bigsby was going to take a little bit more work, which he didn't. However, again, this is another situation where it was kind of a tale of two cities, a tale of two seasons for Travis Etienne. The first 8 weeks of the season, all the way up into his bye, week 1 through 8, Travis Etienne was the RB2. He averaged 18.8 half PPR points per game, only behind Christian McCaffrey. He had a bye in week 9. From week 10 onwards, so the week after their bye onwards, Travis Etienne was, I'm pulling it up, the RB16, and he averaged 11.4. He averaged over 7 points less per game. And I understand they were playing tougher defenses. They had kind of a brutal schedule after the bye. Guys like, they were playing 49ers, Tennessee, Houston a couple times, I believe, who have a good run defense. So they had a pretty brutal schedule. Like, every opponent they played were like in the top 10 against the run or something crazy after the bye. I understand that. But we've seen 2 seasons of this now where Etienne kind of falls off a little bit. And I just don't know if he is an every down back, if the Jags want to use him as an every down guy. And again, you look at the first 8 weeks of the season and you look at his snap percentage, he fell below 80% only twice, and he did not fall below 70% of the snaps. That's what we want to see. We want to see a running back get at least 70% of the snaps. You have a running back getting 70% of the snaps, they're going to be a good fantasy piece. And that's what we were seeing with Etienne. And then they had a bye, and from weeks 10 onwards, we saw no games over 80%. And we saw only 2 games over 70% of the snaps. It was closer to about 60 to 65% of the snaps for Etienne. And again, that's still really good. That's still great. But I think this is more of, I don't think it's a coincidence that we saw, him drop down about 15 to 20% of the snaps, and his fantasy production dropped a bit. So I'm just worried about Etienne. You see where he's at. He's RB7 right now in Keep Trade Cut. And basically what that means is you can essentially get a late, I guess he's RB8 now. He fell to RB8. But you can essentially get a late first-round pick this year for Travis Etienne. I'm just double-checking that. Travis Etienne versus the 2024 pick 1-10. They said Etienne. Okay, so we're talking about a mid. You can get a mid first round pick for Etienne. They're essentially saying that the pick 107, 108 is about where Etienne is valued. And I'm taking that every day of the week, right? Taking that every day of the week. Now, could it be a bad thing? Yes. But again, Etienne, he's coming up on his 4th year in the NFL. He missed his entire rookie season. His last 2 seasons were fine. And he's coming up into his 4th year. I don't think the Jags are going to extend him that 5th year. I think they're going to potentially move on. I don't know if he's a Doug Peterson guy. I don't know if he fits the system super well for him. And I think Doug Peterson really wants to see another running back take on a little bit of the workload. So, his situation next year, which looks pretty good. It looks fine, which is fine for a running back. But if I can get the 108, the 107 for him in this year's draft, where potentially 6 quarterbacks to be taken in the first round of the NFL draft in a super flex league, I am 100% snagging that. If I can tear down from Etienne, go from Etienne to a Rashad White, a Josh Jacobs, a Saquon Barkley, which is all those guys are in a different tier. If I can trade Etienne, get one of those guys and something else, I'm doing it. So Etienne is another guy that I see that RB7 to RB8 ranking. And it just makes me feel like this is potentially the highest we're ever going to see Etienne be ranked. And it's only going to be downhill from now. So can he be good next year? Of course. Moving on, another running back here is Jaylen Warren from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Interesting enough, Jaylen Warren is the RB20. Now that's actually fallen to RB22 since I made this banner a few days ago. So he's fallen a couple more spots, but he was at one point ahead of Najee Harris. And really the only reason why that Jaylen Warren is this high is not because of what he's done, but it's what we think. It's a couple reasons. It's what we think he's capable of. And it's our opinions about Najee Harris, which for most people, Najee Harris, not the greatest opinions about him. We think he's not very good. The only reason he's getting carries is because he's a first round pick, blah, 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 blah. But that being said, for Jaylen Warren to be ranked as a top 20, top 22 running back right now, to me is a little crazy. He finishes the RB25 last year, and he played every game, by the way. He averaged 9.8 points in half PPR, as you can see right there, per game. Najee Harris was better than him. Najee Harris actually had a top 10 running back from weeks 9 onwards. Najee Harris was actually pretty good. And I honestly don't think Mike Tomlin's coming back to this team. I don't think it's really going to change much. We're going to see them kind of run it back with these guys. Najee Harris is going to get most of the snaps, most of the carries. Jaylen Warren's going to be that change of pace guy. Will he have weeks in fantasy? Of course he will. Is he going to be that stud that we all hope he be? Is he going to become Austin Eckler like we kind of hope he's going to be? I don't think so. I think he's going to stay around that between 40 to 50% of the snaps. And Najee Harris is going to get the goal line, the between the tackles guy. And, Jaylen Warren, to me, solid player. But yeah, he's just going to be he's going to get 130 carries to 150 carries. And he's going to catch 40 to 50 balls, maybe a little bit higher. He caught 60 this year. And in half PPR, which is what we're talking about, for him to be ranked as the RB20, I think I'm just going to cash out there. Again, this team, I think they're going to run it back this year, kind of how they've been doing it, how they've been playing it in terms of their running backs. And then after that, who knows? The coach could be gone. The whole offensive scheme could be different. And then Jaylen Warren's worth nothing. So if I can get any first round pick for him, whether it's 25, 26, I'll take it for Jaylen Warren. That is, if I can get an early second round pick in this year's draft, I'll take it for Jaylen Warren. Just think his ranking is not necessarily because of what he's done. It's more about what we think about him versus Najee Harris, and we think he deserves to be the guy. So, I just don't know if that's going to happen. It could, but I just don't think he's going to take over the backfield in 2024. So that's it for the running backs. Moving on to a wide receiver here. And again, these are sell high guys. These are guys that people like. And this is a guy that I think a lot of people like. And that is Rashee Rice, who has really come on as of late. He's been really good. He's been the only consistently productive player, really, for that Chiefs offense. Kelsey has been up and down, not as good as his old self. He's still a weapon, though. But it's really Rashee Rice, Kelsey, and Pacheco, outside of Mahomes, that are kind of weapons for this team. And Rashee Rice has been awesome. He's been awesome the last couple weeks that he's played. His first playoff game, he scored a couple touchdowns, had over 100 yards. My worry about Rashee Rice, who right now, according to Keep Trade Cut, is wide receiver 19. And I'm going to double check that and make sure that hasn't changed completely. He's okay, wide receiver 20, so he fell just a tad. Wide receiver 19, wide receiver 20, whatever. My worry about Rashee Rice is, again, January 20th, divisional games have not started. What if the Chiefs fall flat against the Bills and their offense they lose because their offense can't compete, right? Offensively, someone shuts down Rashee Rice because he's their only weapon at the receiver position, and the team just doesn't function. Or even if they win, what if they win and it's like they just win more out of the defense or the ground game, right? And at some point in the playoffs, they get the entire playoffs, their offense just doesn't click, doesn't look like the Chiefs of old. I think either way, whether they win the Super Bowl or don't, either way, this team is adding weapons. This team is going to add weapons through the draft, maybe a couple weapons through the draft, through free agency. What if the Chiefs get T. Higgins? What if the Chiefs get Michael Pittman? What if the Chiefs get Brandon Ayuk? It's a possibility. This is a team that really, really, I think, is going to overcompensate. Think about the, 2020 Super Bowl season when they played, the Bucs and Chiefs played, Tom Brady's first year in Tampa, and the Bucs absolutely destroyed Mahomes. He was running for his life, right? Sacked, hit, could not be comfortable in the pocket. What did the Chiefs do? They went out there and they loaded up on the offensive line position. They loaded up because they said, we are weak here. We need to fix this. And they loaded up. Look at this year. Where have they been weak? At the receiver position. Their offense has been worse than their defense. What if they get eliminated this weekend by the Buffalo Bills? What if they get eliminated in the AFC Championship game and they just don't look right offensively in one of these games or in the Super Bowl, whatever? They are going to overcompensate, and I think they're going to try and load up. And so this is more of a projection. Now, if they don't do anything at receiver position, they don't sign a free agent, or they draft someone, but he's in like the fourth round, then this is probably going to be a mistake trading away Rashee Rice, who's probably going to be a top 20 receiver next year. A lot of people are thinking he's going to be top 12. I don't know. He feels like more of a 1B than he does, the alpha receiver. That's just kind of how I feel with Rashee Rice. Good player for sure, but just feels a little bit more like the 1B on a team. So what's nice about him is he's young. He's a rookie. I think generally people have a positive outlook on him. And so I just feel like you can sell him high right now, because if they do sign someone like a T. Higgins or a Michael Pittman or Brandon Ayuk, or they do draft someone in the first round, and this draft class is loaded with receivers, then Rashee Rice's value is going to take a hit. It definitely is. Not saying he still can't be good. I still think he can be a good player, but his value is going to take a hit for sure. So it's more about capitalizing on that top 20. If someone's going to offer me a first round pick in this year's NFL draft or rookie draft, I'm probably going to take it. Not that I'm, even if it's like the 110, and I'm not saying the player you get at the 110 is going to be better than Rashee Rice, but you have a more fungible asset. You have an asset that is only going to gain value. The first round pick, it's only going to gain value over the next several months before and after the NFL draft, whereas Rashee Rice's value may drop a little bit. So just something to keep an eye on there. With Rashee Rice, good player, but his value could drop. So I believe we're finishing up here with the tight end, and the tight end position is interesting. I did a buy low video, and I basically just said, like, look, tight ends outside of like the top 7 really don't make a whole lot of difference in fantasy football, unfortunately. Tight ends 8 to 15 are essentially like the same player almost every year. There's like a point per game separation between those guys. So this is more of the nature of the tight end position than it is about Jake Ferguson, I guess. Jake Ferguson, currently the tight end 8, according to Keep Trade Cut. He averaged 8.3 half PPR points per game last year, which I believe put him as the tight end 8. So he was a solid player. If you started Jake Ferguson all year long, you were probably did a fine. Was he a difference maker? No, he was not. You look at from last year, half PPR, tight ends, we'll even expand it. Tight end 7, which was Cole Kmet, all the way down to tight end, I believe 15 per game. there was somewhere between basically a point difference, right? Anywhere from 0.2 to an entire point per game difference. Now, a point per game, if you a point per game at every position is significant, but basically what I'm trying to say is between tight and I just said it, between tight end 7 to 15 or so, there's not a whole lot of difference here, and they're not making a huge impact on your team. And I don't think Ferguson is going to be, that level of can they make a truly big impact. I don't think he can get to Trey McBride levels, who I think can be a difference maker. Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce in his prime, Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Kittle, David Njoku over his last 6 games or so. I don't know if Ferguson can get there. I just don't think he will. He was, I believe, second on the Cowboys in targets this year. And I don't think that's going to happen again. So I think this team's going to try and find another weapon through the draft or free agency. And I think at best, Ferguson's going to be the third best option. So I think you see his targets come down. He had 102. I think you see that come down and his catches come down. Can he catch a bunch of touchdowns? Sure. But again, like if someone's going to offer me any random first, 2025, 2026, I'll take it. If anyone's going to offer me an early second round pick in the 2024 draft, I'm taking it, right? If anyone wants to tier down or tier up and I tier down, I trade Ferguson for Michael Mayer and plus, I'll do it. So I think he's looked upon generally tied to the Cowboys, was tight end 8 this year. I think he's looked upon as like a difference maker. I don't think he really is going to be. So just getting value at him because, again, tight end 8, not a whole lot of difference between tight end 8 and tight end 15. So that is it for you guys. That's 5 buy lows. Sell highs. Again, sell highs. These are always tricky. People are going to complain, oh, this player is really good. What are you talking about? If you truly believe in Rashee Rice, if you truly believe in Etienne, don't sell them. Keep them, right? Don't listen to me. Like, trust your gut. But if you want to kind of play the market, capitalize on value, think about it. Think about these players that you have and look at them and say, can they get higher than where they're ranked right now? Etienne's the RB7, RB8. Can he get higher? Can he be ranked higher? Keep in mind, we have rookies going to be coming in here soon. They're going to drop people down. So always ask yourself that question and ask yourself how I can capitalize on it. So that's all I have for you guys today. As always, like and subscribe. We'll be back with some more Dynasty content soon.